Hey everybody, happy Easter! It's a Hokey video blog update on this Sunday morning. We're talking about warm temperatures, a dry start to the day, but yes, the potential for strong to even severe thunderstorms as we head throughout tonight. With those thunderstorms in the forecast, let's talk about an interesting Hokey weather fact that even I didn't know until a couple weeks back. Dinosaur names, a particular dinosaur name, the Brontosaurus, means thunder lizard. They named this back in the 1800s. A fun fact about this too is that the Brontosaurus was actually taken off of the dinosaur list up until last year because they thought it was just a type of Apatosaurus. And then last year they went back and said, oh, wait a minute, this actually is a different breed of dinosaur, a Brontosaurus. You can Google that for some more interesting facts about that. For today, we're going to be talking about the weather a little bit more, and we're going to be talking about these storm chances as we head throughout this evening. After 5 p.m., we're going to be seeing these storm chances begin to blossom in our western counties, and then after 9 p.m. is when the main line of storms begins to move through, damaging winds and hail, small isolated tornado chance, all on the table as we head throughout this evening. You would never know that by our Kentucky One Health SkyTrack image from Jeffersonville. Looks beautiful out there. We do have some clouds overhead, and that's limiting the sunrise beauty for a lot of us. You'll see those temperatures generally in the 30s and the 40s to our north, some 50s showing up to our south, though, and that's the movement in of the warmer air, as well as the clouds. You'll see those clouds moving in from the south. A lot of snow out there in northwest Missouri at this hour, some rain just ahead of that. That's all being caused by the cold front out to our west. This front is going to be the culprit for our strong to severe showers and thunderstorms as we head throughout tonight into the overnight hours. Now, as we head throughout today here on Futurecast, this is the high-resolution rapid refresh, and I'm showing you this, and I'm going to show you the RPM model to show you some of the differences here we have in some of the guidance, just to show you what we're looking at. There is the potential for a few of these isolated showers throughout the late morning into the early to mid-afternoon. No thunderstorms with these. The atmosphere will be what we call too capped. A warm layer of air aloft will hold off these updrafts from punching through it until we get through about, I'd say, this evening into the overnight hours as well. So this is 3 o'clock. Look at these temperatures. Upper 70s here in the city. I don't think we'll get quite as warm as what the high-res rapid refresh is advertising here. Probably 78 for the high today. But you get the idea. It's going to be very warm. This is concerning. This is a trend that we just saw happen starting a couple hours ago in the high-res rapid refresh. And this is isolated storms, even some storm clusters beginning to form out ahead of the main line. This would be 5 to 6 to 7, even to 8 o'clock when this would happen in mainly our western counties. These storms would happen in an environment that is more conducive to severe weather because they're unhindered by other storms that would form to the south or to the east of them, and they're also unhindered by any sort of convective inhibition because we would have the most instability of the day right there, 5, 6, 7 o'clock, just before the the sun sets, and the heating of the day as well. Also, the winds are not going to be quite as favorable here, so that's some good news. I think that'll keep the tornado threat down with these, but hail and damaging winds would certainly be a concern because these will be instability-based thunderstorms. Okay, so here's 9:30. That main line moves in, and the high-res rapid refresh is trying to figure out if there's going to be a main line, if it's just going to be clusters. The storm mode here isn't for certain. The RPM model I'm getting ready to show you is a lot more clean-cut on the storm mode here, but the RPM's having some trouble figuring out what exactly is going to happen. This is the end frame of the high-resolution rapid refresh. There's no more forecast that it gives after 9:30, so we're going to zoom you right now to the RPM model to show you what that looks like. It's a lot drier through the afternoon, just a couple of those little isolated showers, not a big deal. The high-res rapid refresh can sometimes overdo that, so it may be even drier than what this is saying, too, on the RPM. So we'll have to trend this hour by hour. Nonetheless, the temperatures are in pretty good shape there with those 70s. And notice how it doesn't really have those front-running showers and thunderstorms. None of those supercells. It just has this main line of storms that has some supercellular structures. And I've always said, whenever you get some of these little hooking shapes in here on the RPM and the high-res rapid refresh, it doesn't necessarily mean tornadoes. It just necessarily means that we may have some strong updrafts, and some of them may rotate as we go throughout tonight. Again, main tornado risk would be in this area right up... There we go. Right up there. The pen tool doesn't want to work on the graphic system today. Right up there in that area is probably where the best tornado risk would be for tonight, and even that's going to be very short-lived and very small. Storm Prediction Center's latest outlook was put out at 8:19 this morning, and I read it and agreed with what they said. The return of the moisture is just not going to be so much so that we see a big tornado threat. That's going to be the limiting factor in all this. We'll have to watch that through the afternoon. 1 a.m., storms are out of here, a couple isolated showers, and then temperatures down into the 40s after that. All right, so we've talked about the nerd stuff. Let's get into the meat and potatoes of this forecast. Here is the storm timing. This is our forecast. 5 to 8 p.m., isolated storms. Both the models I just showed you back that up pretty well. I did 5 o'clock there. I've accelerated a little faster than some of the models just because these storms can sometimes accelerate faster than what the models say. 8 to 10 to our western counties. 9 to 11, that's our window here for the main storms here in Metro Louisville. I don't think we'll see so much of those isolated storms because it'll be congealing into a line by that point. That's our forecast here, I-65 at that point. And then 10 p.m. to 12 midnight would be for eastern counties, Frankfort down to Columbia. Even Carrollton would see it around that time for the main line of storms. There's that slight risk of severe weather. If you're watching this, maybe you're a first-time watcher here, and you're trying to figure out what exactly does a slight risk mean. It means just some scattered severe storms and the potential for some isolated storm damage, but not an outbreak. This isn't an outbreak situation by any stretch of the imagination. This isn't, March 2nd, 2012. This isn't April 27th, 2011. This isn't November 17th, 2013. Everything is different. Every storm setup is slightly different than another one. So we want to tread carefully on the messaging with this and just tell you that this is only a slight risk, all right? Now, by the flip of the coin, we don't want you to think, well, this is just a slight risk, so I'm not going to turn on my weather radio tonight, and I'm going to put my phone on silent and put it in the drawer tonight. No, you want to make sure you have a way to get alerted of a tornado or a severe thunderstorm warning tonight, especially in those western counties. The rest of us, again, in a marginal risk of severe weather, that's the green there. So this is kind of a one sheet here, if you will, on this storm risk. Damaging winds, hail, isolated tornado, heavy rain, all on the table for this. If we were to rank those, I would say the wind would be first. This is more of the human impact scenario here. Tree branches may fall with these storms. Shingle damage possible. 60 to 70 mile per hour winds. I mean, it's not unheard of around here, certainly. This is kind of run-of-the-mill severe thunderstorm risk, but nonetheless, it can cause damage. The roofers and the tree service people out there are probably going, ooh, goodness, is this going to be a good one? And it's not going to be a huge deal, all right? I don't think there's going to be a lot of damage. I think this is mostly going to be, hey, there's small twigs and branches in my yard that have fallen, and hey, there may be a small area of hail damage here or there, but I don't think that's going to be a very big deal. Okay, so the hail, that's the next part. So small damage potential with this, minor roof damage. Some large hail, maybe quarter size. Nothing too much bigger than that, because I don't think the updrafts are going to be able to get too much of that in the air. We would see potentially an isolated instance of slightly larger than golf ball size hail, but I'm not going to go too crazy with that. All right, so the tornado threat, that's what a lot of people get focused on. And quite frankly, that may not be in most events the biggest thing to focus on, because sometimes the wind damage can be just as bad as a tornado. In this instance, it won't be. These are just isolated tornadoes that are possible. I would say from Evansville to Indianapolis, maybe Lawrence County, Jackson County, Orange, and Du Bois. You guys would be the prime spots for my concern for any sort of isolated tornado threat tonight. It's going to be closer to the parent low-pressure system moving through, has the greatest spin in the atmosphere, the greatest wind shear for that to happen. So really, that's going to be what we focus on for that. But really, it's the wind and the hail you want to be more concerned about here. The flooding, these storms moving so fast, I don't think we're going to have more than just some isolated urban flash flooding issues. All right, here's a 7-day breakdown. You see the 60s on Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday and Thursday were in the 70s. There's another storm threat Wednesday night. I think it will be mostly just a strong storm scenario, not a severe storm one so much, maybe even less than what we're seeing now for tonight. But, just keep an eye on that. Stay with our forecast through the week. We get back down to the 60s Friday and Saturday, and then on the 14-day earliest alert outlook, people have been asking about this one for sure. 40s on the 3rd, a potential hard freeze the morning of the 4th. The models are not going as crazy about this morning. Thank goodness. It's still going to be cold. We're still going to see highs in the 40s on the 3rd. It may be in the 50s, though, on the 4th, though, as we try to rise out of this quickly. Confidence meter on this setup now at a 6. So if you have seeds that you've been waiting to put in the ground, wait until at least, I'd say, the end of the month. If they're the ones that are a little hardier that can withstand a light frost, you can go ahead and do that, I would say, after about the morning of the 4th. This isn't going to be our last cool spell, but the subsequent cool spells that we see through April won't be as severe as that one. So it's going to be getting better from here on out for those fans of warmer weather. All right, that's it for now. Make sure you download the Wave 3 News weather app. We don't have a 6 o'clock news tonight, but we'll do cut-ins as necessary on television. Social media updates constantly as we head throughout the late afternoon into the evening. And we'll see you back here on Wave 3 News at 11 tonight.